Hey, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on this AMP session. Today, our guest is Tony Fanfula. For those of you that don't know Tony, Tony, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what your role is with EXP, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I'm 26 years in real estate. I'm the Victorian licensee. I am extending my role slightly, as for those of you that have heard or otherwise, to be working on helping with your back-end operations. But a lot of years of listing and selling real estate, probably somewhere in the 1,000+ property sales. Still haven't seen it all, I'm sure.
Which is why we've invited Tony to just have a little bit of a talk. Our theme today is change happens and 5 strategies of overcoming or surviving and thriving in change. And so what I want to do is I just want to kind of set us up a little bit for that particular topic and then get down to some examples and some strategies to get through. If you're a sporting fan at all, you would have heard the name Mike Tyson. He was an American boxer, still is an American, not a boxer so much anymore. But he has he's credited with having an incredible quote that says, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face." and that's kind of what we're dealing with in life. We all have these plans, and we work really hard to get them out. And then in our world, it could be, okay, great, 7 Smith Street, we're getting that listing next week and it's coming on, and then the seller rings you and says, oh, we've changed our mind, we're not selling, or we gave it to the other agent, or we've decided to rent it out. So you've got all this space in your calendar diary for the next 4 to 6 to 8 weeks that you're going to be working there, and then you're not. And so with that, I'll just paint a little brush strokes with change is the opposite of the status quo. The status quo is steady, and change is not steady. Tony, in your world, in your life experience, have you ever had long periods of the status quo? And we'll just think about in the real estate market.
Yeah, you get those long periods, whether it's good markets or bad markets, and particularly when it's good markets, and we get what I call get sucked into believing it's just going to last forever. And something shifts that, no one sends us an email to tell us, hey, the market's going to change now. You sort of figure it out over a little bit of time. The numbers drop, the inquiry drops, the offers get lower, and this all shifts, and you're like, hang on, what's happening? Because you've had this long 2, 3, 4 year period of a rising market and positive, and then it stops, and it can be quite sudden, and it can unsettle you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it makes them question, oh, now I have to leave real estate and go and stock shelves at Woolies. We've all had that thought, and it's just being ready for it, knowing it's coming, and being set up for the next stage.
And that's kind of why I wanted to have this little conversation around this, is because the market is constantly changing. And if you study psychology at all, which I'd highly recommend that you as salespeople would at least have a cursory understanding of some formal psychology, there are 2 types of stress. Change causes stress, because anytime you change the status quo, which is the steady state, that creates stress. There are 2 types of stress. There's a stress called eustress and a stress called distress. Eustress is when you go to a seller and you say, I know we said we could get 640 for you, 640 to 660. The market shifted. I think we can get 7. That's eustress. That's positive. something positive is happening. Different scenario where you appraised the property 3 months ago and it was 640 to 660, and now you're saying, look, it could be upper fives. That's distress. And you've got to make those phone calls or those visits. And how heavy is the phone when you're dealing with distress, finance fallovers or those kinds of things? Tony, if you're thinking about that, how would you describe your market at the moment? So you're in Victoria, just out of the main Melbourne market. What's it like there now?
Yeah, if for those that are in a booming market want to talk about what's about to happen, give us a call. Melbourne's has been for some time in a fairly depressed market, slow. We get little glimmers and then they go away since the start of the interest rate changes, which is 2 years now. Pardon me. So we've been dealing with a tough market for some time. We're sincerely hoping that we start to follow the path of many other markets that you guys are in and turn positive, but every time we get a glimmer, it goes away. And Melbourne's suffering from a long COVID hangover, and our market's just, it's tough. We're not getting great results. We're just hopefully getting them sold. That's the key.
Yeah.
The prices aren't terrible. They're okay, but just okay.
Yeah. I want to come back to that in a minute, Tony, and talk about more in terms of real estate scenarios. But I just wanted to not prepare, everyone knows these things, but to highlight that there are changes coming to you. If you're a person on planet Earth and you are going along, there are going to be some changes that are coming your way, and we won't dwell on these, but these are the types of changes that you're going to experience and or others around you are going to experience. And just have these in mind. We're going to relate the remainder of our conversation to real estate, but the strategies that we're going to be talking about can help you through some of the following changes. So there's obviously market changes, which Tony was just alluding to, the standing in the home open, 4 weeks in a row. Oh, someone walked through the door. Those kind of changes. There are relationship changes. And sometimes those are unexpected. I know myself as a young real estate person, I'm not that anymore, but as a young real estate person, I came home from doing home opens. There was a note on the kitchen bench and $40 cash. And the note said, "Sorry, I have to go find myself. You no longer have access to the bank account." That was change. That was change. Like I wasn't planning that. I didn't see that coming. I was just out working. I was trying to get my next listing. I was focused on getting to the home opens. So I'm just putting that out there. People go through these things. So there's relationship changes, there's health changes, there's financial changes, there's motivational changes, there's technology changes, and all of these things are here, and we just have to make our way through them. Some of the changes are slow, and some of the changes are fast. But in regards to that, we'll shift directly into the real estate space. Some of the ways that as you said, a lot of agents feel like the upward trend market is the new norm. And what happens is we forget there's this thing called the real estate clock. Tony, do you want to talk to us a little bit about the real estate clock and what you've experienced over time?
The cycles, and I've experienced, Lord knows, 6 or 7 cycles probably in that time I've been doing it. Where we go from the boom market, top of the market, it comes off, buyers' numbers dwindle, the offers, there's no more multiple offers. We go to the bottom of the market where there's many more listings than there are sellers. You're virtually telling sellers, don't come on. I can remember 2015 in an area, Warburton in Victoria, saying to new vendors, don't come on unless you're going to be the best priced listing that come online, because otherwise you're just going on top of the pile. We had that many listings. So then you go through that, it starts becoming positive again, and you start to see the investors come back and the first home buyers with their parents. Parents are my thing that dictate the market to me, because we're very much a first home buyers market, as I know many of you would be. Parents are an enormous indicator for me, whether they're there, whether they're positive, whether they're helping, those sort of three
Or
stages.
whether they've got the handbrake on.
Yeah, well, if they're not
There's
there
no
at all,
rush. These walls are crooked. You know, whatever the.
yeah, they're a really great indicator for me for the market. Watching the parents and how supportive or not that they are. And you know, for those of you in a first home buyer market, it's just a ripper indicator as to the market at the time. And then we get, you know, we go back to the cycle of heading towards boom time again, and it keeps going round and round and round. It's got faster. I've noticed probably in the last 8 to 10 years, the cycles have got shorter, and we're going round the clock faster. You know, whether that's impacted by government's policies, or interest rates, you know, migration. We talk about all these big picture things that are impacting our market. Certainly in Victoria, government policies are a major factor. Anthony put in the chat there around first home buyers, investors leaving the market. They're not only leaving the market, the new investors are not buying here, they're buying in where Rob is, in Perth and Adelaide and Brisbane. They're markets that they can still get into for a price that's not $1 million. They're, you know, 4s, 5s, 6s. So they've abandoned Melbourne and flew to those areas because they're, in today's day and age, it's accessible. So the clock will keep winding, and for wherever you are in the clock, the next stage is coming. Sure as day follows night.
And that's what I love about having these national collaboration sessions, because I can remember being a fairly new agent in a nice little office. It was comfy. And I can remember going golfing with one of my co-workers, and real estate was easy. You got a listing and you sold it. And I remember we had just come from a training session where there were people from New South Wales talking at that training session. And they were talking about they weren't allowed to take on new listings in their office because they wouldn't sell. And other people saying our office only allows us to have one sign in a street because there were that many, and we just couldn't. Like, I was young, I was green as grass, I didn't know anything about a real estate clock or cycles or any of that. I was like, man, get me over there, I'd tear it up, you know. I'll get the listings and I'll get them all sold. I just am so smart. And then it shifted and the New South Wales market totally improved, and the WA market went as flat could be. And so that's why there's power in us sharing these stories. And yeah.
And look, the preparation for the down market, I know a lot of you are in good markets. The preparation it's very, very simple. Work on your relationships that you've currently got with your past clients, your past appraisals. Keep working with them. When you get to the market, when it changes and those people's listings come online, the better your relationship, the easier it is to get them priced correctly. And being that advisor, that helper, and you know, being prepared. If you're prepared for that downward market, you'll kill it in that market. I prefer that in a lot of cases better than a boom market. And you've got a far more control. Your advice is far better listened to when the market's tough. They're not listening to their mother, brother, sister, neighbour as much. They're back to the real estate agent, and you tell me what's really happening. And, you know, you're in it every day. Tell me, instead of the neighbour who's never sold a house telling them how to do it. So it's just work on those relationships. That's what will get you through the next cycle.
Cool. I want to take the remainder of our time together, and I'll come up with 5 strategies that I have seen be helpful for people, and I'm just going to share them, and then Tony, if you can just make comment
Mhm.
to those strategies. The first strategy is well, obviously we have established the fact that change happens, whether it's with your health, with your wealth, with your motivation. Like I have agents sometimes ring me up and they just go, I lost my mojo. Like that's just normal, that just happens. But anyway, so one of the first strategies that we'll share for thriving and surviving in an environment of change is clearly identify where you want to be. What do you think
Mm.
about that, Tony?
Yeah, it's your January 1 goal setting session with you and the person in the mirror. Um, you know,
And sometimes it has to be a May 1st goal setting session and then a May
maybe
15 goal setting session.
you can revisit this session anytime that you feel it needs to be,
Yeah.
especially when change is happening or about to, or whatever's going on. But just resetting your goals, going back and looking at them, ticking off the ones. You can do it at any time. Let's make some new ones. Let's see, look, this has changed in my world. So what does that mean for my income or my lifestyle or the numbers of listings I want or the numbers of phone calls I'm making, things like that that are in your goals. And definitely have goals from all facets of life, and you don't have to Google far to find the different areas where you need to work on goals. There's certainly not just work in your business. So I found it very, very rewarding to tick off goals in all sectors of life. And I've got 20 years of pads where the back of the pad has the goals written in it for every year, and going back and ticking them off or writing in a new one, things like that, is very rewarding. And it's amazing how many things you do achieve and how many goals you do tick off, even when you're feeling like you may be down. Go and tick them off, what may have happened in the last 3 to 6 months. It is a great exercise.
You remind me there, my wife, who is very much into fitness and whatnot, she, a couple of years ago, she had vision boards with her goals all around our bedroom. She actually laminated what she wanted and she had them stuck there. And it was interesting just to see that, they were there, they were blue tacked to the wall, and we never really focused on them, but that she went through that exercise of creating that. And by the end of the year, almost everything on those vision boards had been ticked off.
Yeah.
It was amazing just to watch that. So yeah, sometimes when you are lost, like I said, agents ring you maybe or whatever, I've lost my mojo. Sometimes it's just about let's just clearly identify where you want to be, and go from there.
And
Yeah,
find the positives of what you may have done in the last 3, 6, 12 months.
yeah,
A lot of them have achieved a lot and they don't realize it.
absolutely. The second strategy is confirm what you can control and what you cannot control.
It's we seem to want to spend a lot of the time talking to others and working out and commenting online about things that are totally out of our control. If the minute we stop that, it gets a whole lot easier. Just
Like
work
you
on.
and I can have a conversation about how gravity's not fair. It's still there. It's still there. And the same with the market conditions, if you're in a low stock situation where there's not a lot of properties to sell, that's just the way it is. And so you have to do more work. Same as with if you've got too
Yeah.
much to sell.
And there are people in a low stock market that have a lot of stock. How'd that happen? What did they do? What can I learn? It's just what can I control that gets me to that point? If I've got 3 listings and I want 6, what have I got to do to get the other 3? Work harder on that, because you'll find they're there. They're definitely there.
Yeah, I am so blessed in my state that my agents will, for whatever reason, they feel comfortable calling me and chatting to me about where they're at. And there's not too many that wouldn't like to do better. There's some that are just killing it and still like to do better. But when we talk to agents that want to lift their business that they're doing, and sometimes they'll say, I've done everything. And we go, okay, cool, that's good. Let's make a list. What does everything look like?
How
And
many
it's
people that,
and
did you?
it's funny sometimes when they go, and we start to make that list, and it's like, well, have you done this? No.
Mm,
Have you done that? No, but I was going to. What
mm,
about this? Uh, yeah, I don't want to do that. Okay,
mm,
that's fine, but let's not fool ourselves, you know. Let's talk about reality.
mm.
Um, which leads us to point number 3, which is take stock of your resources.
Yeah, it's certainly, what is it that you have around you in technology, assistance, etc., that you are not using to your fullest capacity? I don't know that any of us use our database to the fullest capacity. That's the first one. If you are, well done. I'm not. I don't think I ever have. But that's just honesty.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that we can always improve on. That's where your gold is, and the people that are around you. We just touched on goal setting and things. If you want to work on that, speak to Lee Martinuzzi. He is dynamite on that. And he'd love a call. It's using the resources of a lot of people in our company. A lot of them would be happy to help. Certainly us licensees, and happy to talk with any of you. And I think that, use us. Some of you do, a lot of you don't. And use the data, the tech and the things that are supplied as much as possible. Use your network, use your community in the best possible way. Use those contacts to, they're all the resources that you have. It's never ending. There's no way you're using them all. I never have. We go to these things when markets change and things like that, and just to take stock of all of those things that you have at your fingertips, and use them as best possible.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the names that are with us today, and there's some wonderful agents that are here, and they don't need to be here. They're kicking goals, they're doing well. Why are they here? It's a resource, you know. There's the old saying, iron sharpens iron. If you work together, you collaborate, you rub shoulders. What does Jim Rohn say? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's wonderful. I get so inspired chatting to Peter Forbes, who's on the call, and when he was in WA, we arranged to catch up, and he just is so humble, but also decided who he wants to be. He's got his structures in place. He's got his database, and it's just going, and that's why he gets the success that he gets.
Yeah,
Um,
and look around you, look at the faces on the screen. With respect, there's no Hemsworths that I see, or Jolie. We're just people doing our thing.
yeah,
And
love it.
that when you look at the best of the best, they look just like us.
Yeah,
They've got the same tools. There's no magic. It's all, unless you're Glenn Coutinho, and that's another whole level.
yeah,
Talk about that another day.
yeah. Number 4 in surviving and thriving and when change happens, I've got down here, seek advice from those who have been through this before. Get mentors in your life.
Yeah, we just touched on this a little bit, that use those human resources that are us and your fellow agents that are in EXP, or even outside EXP. People that are in other companies and things like that. If you've only been in it 2 or 3 years, you've only experienced one market, go and find someone who's been in it 10 or 15, and talk about that real estate clock, and talk about the different things that they did. Seek out that person that may well be your mentor, and often it is other people in the same company that you're in. And if it's just a check-in once a week, once a month, an email, a Zoom with that person, believe me that both sides will get something out of it. If you find the right person, it's not an impost on them. I think they'll enjoy it and get as much out of it as you do. But especially if you're in your first, 4 or 5 years. For me, it was 7 years before I realised I knew nothing in real estate. That's how long it took, and then I went out and got educated.
Yeah,
But that's
it's again that whole Mike Tyson thing. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and you think, oh wait, what I thought was working actually wasn't. Sometimes there's a mismatch of what creates success. The last one, as we move towards finishing up, that I've got written down here is, once you've done that, once you've spoken to a mentor, or you've talked to your colleagues and whatnot, you've recognized there is a change, as Tony said before, sometimes the changes in the market come up a bit slow. Yeah, like they're a bit slow. And so, you think it's just 1 or 2 listings that aren't shifting. And the next thing you know, like what we had in Perth, 6, 7 years ago, average days on market blows out to 180. And you're thinking, okay, wait, it's not just this listing, it's every listing that's got a problem. So the last number 5 is make a fresh plan and take action, massive action.
So it's back to the goal setting, back to the plan of what, we're talking about just our real estate plan, it's those top 10, 20 actions that have the best results. Write them down. I used to have what I called a contact matrix, and I had the different food groups: buyers, sellers, investors, landlords, tenants. And I have a plan. I always did have a plan of how many monthly contacts each one of those got, how many annual contacts. It was all in a big matrix out for the complete year of what it was: phone calls, DL droppers, a letter, an email, a text, a quarterly newsletter, whatever it may be. It was all planned in the matrix and a year in advance, and that's what I would stick to. But I didn't have to, turn around and go, oh, now what do I do? When you're in those really boom markets, the matrix goes out the window. You're just taking 7 offers on a property and you're spending day and night trying to navigate that. And
you got people abusing you because they haven't got to put in an offer and it's already under offer, and it's this and it's that and it's whatever. Yeah. It's a different mindset too. You got your seller going, what do we do? What do we do? We have to sell this. What do you suggest? Completely different scenarios.
Yeah.
Tony, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I would just challenge all of you that are here live, or those that are watching the replay, take some time in the next, maybe today, maybe the next couple of days, and just have a think about your current market, where it's at. If you don't know what the real estate clock is, or you haven't seen it for a while, just Google it, real estate clock, an image will come up. Have some thinking about that. What's happening in my marketplace? What's the next likely move? And how can I prepare for that? Is it, I need to be more consistent with my direct mail, flyers, phone conversations, digital marketing, social media marketing? Is it, I've got to get better with my relationship building, or keeping and nurturing those relationships? Sit down sometimes with just a pen and paper or your phone and make some notes. You've got this, guys, and you will learn to live and to thrive when change happens. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this AMP session, and we'll catch you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.